Hello, I'm Charlie Cape from Furhat Robotics, and we received some requests for a little bit of example code to show how you can make multi-robot interaction. There are very many ways you can do this actually, and this is just the way I chose to do it in one or two particular cases. So it's an example of how you can do it. I'm sure there's many more ways. So this is how you start it up. I have the two robots running here, and we start the skill on both of them. And
Hi, please click on this button to select who I am. Hi, please click on this button to select who I am.
so now on this one, I will select
I am Robot 1.
Robot 1.
Click again to change me.
And I can see here that the IP is correct. That's good. And then we will set Robot 2 to...
I am Robot 1. Click again to change me.
I am Robot 2. Click again to change me.
And the IP is correct there. So this should work. If those things are the same, that should work. Yep, and then I just started on Robot 1.
Okay. 1,
2,
And now it's gonna
3,
work.
4.
5,
Robot 1 is telling me what text to speak. 6.
7,
And this event was triggered by Robot 1. 8.
9,
It will not get more fun than this. But I hope you can see how this works. 10.
11,
12.
13. There is nothing to see here. You should end this skill.
14.
15.
There's some example code that will be attached in the description of this video. And essentially, it sets up a server using these functions. Each robot will have its own little web server set up on its IP address. And then the other robot will send HTTP post requests to the other robot so that they can interact with each other. There's a settings file where you set the IP addresses of the two robots. It's actually possible to have one physical robot and have our virtual Furhat running through the SDK on your local computer, and have your virtual Furhat also communicate with a real Furhat and send requests back and forth to each other. And in that case, you need to set the robot URL on that to your local IP, and then that's also going to work. So here is basically a little bit how it works. One thing that's very important here in the init of the first state is to set up the server. This function creates the web server. If you don't have that, the interaction is not going to work. And once you click the wizard buttons, it will move the robots into the state either in Robot 1 or in Robot 2. And in here, it will listen for things. Basically, when you click the start button here, it will send it will say 1, and then it will send an HTTP post request to the Robot 2 with the command speak number and a number. And in the server, it listens on the post the URL /speak number here, and when it receives the number, it will send an event to with speak number and the number. And basically in Robot 2 here, if it receives the event speak number, it will say that number, and then it will send another HTTP post request back to Robot 1 with the same speak number, but the number 1 higher. So now that event will trigger on Robot 1, and Robot 1 will in general just say the number, but at a certain point I've put in a couple of other things that can happen just to show you some options here. And this particular one, when it's /say, it will trigger this little function here, which will send an event to just speak the text that's sent. That's a very handy thing. I've used it to control robots via programs like QLab, and that's also one way to control the robot from, for instance, Python. So that's a handy one. It just speaks that text. Another thing to do here is being able to trigger events. So if we send an HTTP post to the second robot /event with test event 2, that will trigger an event of that name to be triggered on the other robot. So the other robot can receive that here in test event 2, and that will happen. And when that's done here, it'll send a post request back saying that it's done. I set isBlocked equals true here on robot 1. And then this while thing means that the robot will just wait until it gets a command back, another event back from robot 2 with the event name done. And when that happens, it'll set isBlocked to false, and then robot 1 will activate and be able to keep speaking again. And this is a very handy thing to do because you don't want the robots speaking over each other. Then they really lose the sense of understanding their environment and being alive. So it's really nice to be able to block one robot while the other robot is doing something. And for instance, at that point, maybe robot 1 could also look at robot, if it knows robot 2 is going to say something important, then it could also look at robot 2 and robot 2 will speak. And then robot 2 sends a message back saying, I'm done now. And then robot 1 can pick up things up again. And this is a short description of a good way to set up a multi-user interaction. We have used it here for a couple of experiments that have been very functional. And enjoy it and play around with more than one robot. Or if you just want to learn, don't want to get a second robot immediately, you can work with your physical robot communicating with a virtual robot on your screen. Cheers.